Yo, it's Pupil back at it again. Gonna go ahead and show you guys how I made this this sample. It's kind of like a detuned bell. I don't know, Don Toliver type sample. Go ahead and peep game. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right. So here we are in the DAW, and I started out with this bell. All right, let's go ahead and show you how I made that. All right, this bell comes from a presence pack, analog lab pack that I'm going to be releasing soon. Go ahead and show you how I made this. I am going to leave these root notes on here real quick just because the big trick here is pitch bending. So what I did is I went to the pitch bend tab over here. Here's normally your velocity tab. You go to this pitch bend tab, and I just did some pitch bends, and I did them, put the accent snares if you were making a drum beat. So like the backing snares in the background. And that's why I went ahead and put the pitch drops. From there, I built the chord, and then I just repeated the root. And the thing, I'm in C harmonic minor, really love the harmonic scale. And so what I did is I built the top of the chord right here, and then I walked down in triplets. So I have it in eighth triplets right here. What I did is I just walked down like that, boom. But the thing is you want that little gap right there, ba-boom, ba-boom. I'm sorry, I lied. You don't want that gap. Liar! And then from there, won't. So what we want is something like that. Bring it in and let's drop it down to the D again. And then we'll bring this up right here. Now watch. Oh, too early. Let's bring it back over here. And then you can come right on back up here. Nope, don't like it. Back down. Right here is we'll come up to this G and we'll build a chord on top of that. I changed my mind. Instead, we're going to take this down to here. We're going to move this right here. Take this out. And take that out. Let's see what that sounds like. And then we'll refollow this path. And instead, this is where we'll build this chord. Let's try that. And then you can see what that sounds like. And then from there, we'll just, and then from there, we'll run something like, just to connect them, we'll do like that. So let's see what that sounds like. Alright, sounds dope. Alright, I'm going to go back to my original pattern now. Alright, so the next thing I did was I stacked that bell with a bell in the lower octave, 1 octave lower. This bell came from, I think it's the Nebula one-shot pack. Alright, and so both these bells have the same effects on them. So we have a Pro EQ cutting out a little bit of the lows. We have a luxurious plates going on, the dry and wet dial back. We have a chorus Juno 6. We have the subtle 1 preset on that one. We run it through an oxide tape. I dialed it back a little because we were pushing a little too hard. It was causing a little bit too much distortion. Next thing I have is a Vision channel strip. And what I do is I just carved out a little bit of the lows. This 2K right here is just, it's golden. It's a golden. Dial that back and then did a little bit more low and high cuts right there. And then, so this one does not have the ROM reverb on it. This bell, the second bell that I stacked, has this ROM reverb. It's the stab tail. And I went ahead and dialed the mix back to right around 14%. And so when you have all that together, it's Alright, so the next thing I added was this bell is literally just following the bell we just made. The only difference is we're running quarter notes, I believe. So we're doing it more in quarter notes. That gives you a counter melody. A quick trick to make a quick counter melody is write your first melody in eighth notes and 8 triplets, and then write your next melody in quarter notes and quarter triplets. And it will always give you this counter melody. And all I really did was follow this and add a couple accent notes to it. And then all together, it sounds like this. Alright, as for effects that I have on there, I have another chorus Juno with the subtle one preset. I have an oxide tape, nothing I'm doing really here. I have a vision channel strip. Again, I'm just at this 2K mark, always pulling back at that 2K mark if it's piercing my ears. Curious plates, however you say this, same preset, but instead I have the wet all the way up on this bad boy. And then I have a Pro EQ running through, and I'm cutting at 100 Hertz and dipping right around 300 to remove a little bit of the mud. Alright, next we added this pluck. This pluck is a pluck from Shane's kit over at CMP Kits, from the 6 kit. Sounds like this. And all we did with this pluck is we went ahead and changed the root note because it's actually an A minor. I played the root notes octaves apart, and I did it on the snare downbeat. Alright, and so what I did for that is Pro EQ. Again, carved out the lows and ducked a little bit at 500, and I boosted the highs. Went into another chorus Juno in the subtle one preset, because another luxurious plates, I really should have sent this on a send. And dial back the dry wet. Oxide, I pushed this a little bit, even though you can't even see it do anything. And then the next thing we did was the API, and again, we carved out the 2 and 1K. Most of these sounds I ended up using on this, I really had to carve out that 2 and 1K to make it sound the way I wanted it to. So all together, alright, boom, 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 boom. Next thing I added was a piano. Mainly what I did was the 5th, so I went root 5. I didn't want to add any thirds because I didn't want to mess with any of the minors or majors. And then I went ahead and copied the same thing up here, except I shifted this G up to the G sharp. So that kind of gives you a little bit more tension when you're playing the G sharp at the high note and then the G at the lower note. And then the next key to this, and the key to the sound of this piano, is 1, 6, 4, 5. So that's our chord progression that we're running down here on the root note. And I only followed that chord progression on the lower note, the root note. And so it's 1, 6, 4, 5. So it's a 1, 6, 4, 5. And you could rearrange that however you want. And this is how the piano sounds. Alright, and then with everything else, it sounds like this. Alright, next thing I added was this pad. This pad came from the Lexicon 2 preset bank from Ambient Pad Satoshi from Lexicon 2. Together we can hear it. It sounds like this. Alright, so what I did there is I went ahead and sent it all to this band bus right here, and I added the God Particle, this new plugin from Jason Joshua. I didn't really do anything but boost the highs a little bit on this. This plugin is awesome for the mix bus. You can listen to it with it off, and then I'll turn it on. Alright, Alright, from there I just highlighted everything and mixed it down into this sample right here. And on here, I sent it over to this FX chain right here. And this is actually, if it'll load, it's just a guitar rig. Another thing I did do actually, which I didn't go over, is all these bells and the pianos are sent to this guitar rig right here. And this guitar rig is the Older Days preset. I do that because in Studio One you have to have guitar rig on a send to add it, like to mix level it. I didn't want to kill the sample by adding too much guitar rig on these bells. And as you can see, it just adds a lot of space and kind of some detuning to it. Next thing I added was this low piano stab. This piano is probably the Nor piano. Yep, Nor piano. I'm in the basic pure. I didn't do anything to this. Went ahead, cut a little bit of the lows and added that subtle one preset, mainly just to make sure it fits with everything. Then followed the root notes of the piano that we had going. And then the next thing I did is I just chopped it where I would normally put an 808. Alright, and that's the lower piano. So the next thing I added was all these accents right here. And so let's just go through them real quick. So this accent right here is from Al Hug's pack. It's from the Anastasia Vocal Chops 1. Sounds like this. Alright, and so everything that we are doing with the accents is running through what we got right here, and it's going through just a basic oxide, and then it's going through a vision channel strip where I'm doing nothing, and then it's going through a Pro EQ where I'm just carving out the lows and the highs, trying to give it some space. I'm running a default Juno chorus and then a guitar rig, and I believe, if it's gonna load, is the Older Days preset, and I turned off the bite, and I'm running every single one of these into a bus right here. So they're just at an accent bus right there. You just do that by highlighting them all and then right clicking and hitting pack folder. So you highlight them all, you can right click and go to pack folder, and then it'll do that. All right, so next thing I added was this, let's see. Alright, so the next thing I added was this one shot from the Reflections multi-kit FX03. That was the next thing I added. And then I went ahead and in one of the Murder kits, Murder Beats kits, I went ahead and found a riser bit. And then I was trying to find like a siren that sounded kind of good at the end to kind of make it loop again. And I couldn't find one that I liked. So what I did do is I took these two right here, combined them together, and then mixed them down. So those are the two I combined together. I mixed them down and they sound like... Alright, on all the accents I have an oxide tape again, another vision channel strip, and then a Pro EQ carving out the lows and highs. I actually want to carve a little bit of the lows out a little bit more, just to kind of focus the sound on those accents. I have another chorus with the default preset, and then I'm running a guitar rig, and if I'm not mistaken, yep, it's the Older Days preset. And I turn the bite off. And so that gives you this. Alright, and then when you bring it all together, it gives you this. Alright, next thing I added was this percussion loop from the Perk Stash over at CMP Kits. Yep. Alright, and the final thing I added was this deep bass. This comes again from that Reflections one-shot kit. And so let's tie it all together, and it sounds like this. All right, thanks for tuning in. This is Pupil CMP Kits. Hope you guys have a good one.